Good morning and welcome to a cabin in the Kielder Forest because we are up here this weekend for the Dirty Reiver. And just take a look at this view. Let's have it. Yes, good morning and welcome to the beautiful Kielder Forest right up on the border of Scotland in northern England. And yes, we are up here today for the Dirty Reiver. Now this is the first time that any of us have taken part in the Dirty Reiver. Me, Jimmy, Cliffy and Mark came up yesterday evening. Got here quite late actually because it was about a 5.5 hour drive up from Essex. But we are ready and raring to go for this ride this morning. Didn't get a chance to register last night, so we're gonna head down to the event village and do that now. And the ride sets off probably in about an hour and a half, so let's get on it. Right, and we've begun, and immediately into a bit of a climb. Woo, that warmed the legs up. But the first 3 kilometres is a neutralised zone, so let everyone jostle for position. We sort of started right up the front. We were maybe the 3rd or 4th group that went off, and that was the elites. So we might be riding a grade or 2 above where we are at the moment, or where we should be at least. And Ollie Bridgewood from GCN has just gone past me. So yeah, we'll let a few of these elite guys go through and then settle into a bit of a pattern after the 3k neutralised zone and hopefully have a nice gentle ride. We've got about 2.5 hours to get to the first cut-off point, but that's only in 34k, so we only need to do about 8-9 miles an hour to get to that. So I'm hoping, as long as we don't have any problems, we should be all right getting to that. Time will tell. Right, well, we're out of the neutralised zone and on the ride proper now, but bloody hell, that was hard going. The trouble with my ego is that if I'm in a group of elites, I should be just letting them go by, but when someone overtakes you and then you see someone in the distance, yeah, you want to catch them up, come up some of those climbs. Oh boy, yeah, my heart rate was peaking there. Whoa, nearly lost it. And yeah, I think I might have lost the guys that I'm riding with, so now I'm going to slow up, try and find Mark, Jimmy and Cliff, and then have a nice social ride. My heart rate can't take this. Right, well, we've just had to come to a brief stop. We're just going to wait for Cliffy to catch up with us, but I'm very glad we did. Actually, can you see me? This lens is absolutely filthy. But yeah, I'm glad we did come to a stop because that last bit, the track appears to have been ridden over recently by some kind of tracked farm vehicle, some kind of caterpillar. And it was, the bike was bouncing around all over the place and the wrists are feeling it now. So yeah, very welcome stop. But we are now just under 9 kilometres in, so only another 128 to go. Sorry, 118. No, I can't. 122. Can't do the maths. So we've only got another 121 kilometres or so to do. That's easy enough. Look at the state of the bike already. As I say, we've only done 9 kilometres. This does not bode well. Right, so I've had to take a couple of layers off because it is very, very warm. I'm not entirely sure exactly what the temperature is, but it must be about 10 or 11 degrees. There he is. Good to hear it. Oh boy. Yeah, now we've got going and it's still very bumpy again. I wish I'd have put the suspension seat post on here yesterday. This has been fun, but I'm looking forward to getting off this bit. There's always time for a photo op. What did you think of that then?
Oh man, and I've got a new wrist. A lot of fun though, especially when you've got a hand-built, bespoke, beautiful gravel beauty to ride. This is a virgin ride, this is one to test her. She's come up trumps,
Yeah, I haven't spoken about this yet. Jimmy is on the gravel bike. Whoa! Whoa, one-handed. Yeah, this is not a course to be doing a video on and riding one-handed. Jesus. Yeah, so Jimmy is riding the beautiful, cheap aluminium AliExpress bike that I built him. If you watch my recent video of me building that bike, you'll know that it's a cheap Chinese aluminium frame that I bought for 85 quid from AliExpress with a complete no-name carbon fibre fork and a cheap Chinese L2 hydraulic group set. It's working well so far, and alright, we're only 14k in, but if this ride ain't the ultimate test of endurance for that frame and carbon fork, I don't know what is. This has been brutal so far. Absolutely loving it though. But yeah, as I said earlier, it's very difficult to record one-handed on most of this. It's actually a bit of a blessing when you get to the punishing hills, because at least then you slow down a bit and you can actually get your breath back, and it gives you a little bit of a relent from the bouncy gravelly stuff. Who'd have thought the UK's biggest gravel ride would be so gravelly? Oh, we get our first view of Kilda Water. Albeit very brief. I have to say the views up here so far have been incredible. When you can see them through the dust. Oh, I wish I'd have brought some glasses. My eyes are streaming. What a ride, what a ride. Right, we've had our first mechanical, but thankfully it was only Jimmy's chain falling off. Things could be worse. Oh! You literally cannot take your eye off the trail for a second, because it will kick you in the arse, and you'll very quickly find that you've run out of talent. So excuse me if I'm not looking straight into the camera for a lot of this video.
Why have we not done this before? Why have we not done this before?
Oh, look at this. Right, well, we found ourselves on a beautiful tarmac, some kind of dam viaduct thing that we've just come across. And all of a sudden, because we're off the gravel, Jimmy's decided we could do the 200. Take me through that thinking again, Jimbo.
Well, because of how we feel now, and we're 1/8 of the way through, if we're feeling at 100% now, 1/8 of the way through, and we decline, you know, 5 or 10% throughout, there's a calculation somewhere in my head that says that we are more than capable of doing the 2. We feel superb now. It might drop down to slightly tired, but then we'll have done 200 miles or 200k. Correct? How do you feel now?
Yeah, I feel superb because we're on the flat on tarmac, but just as I say that, oh look, more gravel. Let's get to the top of this hill and see how you feel about the 200. Chapeau, my friend, that is hardcore. How are you feeling about that 200 now?
Should we deal on 190?
Well, I just came down a particularly speedy descent, and unfortunately I didn't record it, but I just went flying past Jonathan Morland from Team Cycles up in Newcastle. He was filming, so he probably got me shouting his name as I came by. Jonathan Morland!
Aye, aye. Mr. Peter Treadway.
He's only recently just started probably uploading to YouTube, and he's got a couple of videos up of his preparation for Reiver, and they are proper funny watches. So Jonathan Morland, go and check him out. Hopefully I'll see him again on the course at some point, and I'll have a chat with him. Right, sit rep, 25k in, 9k to go to the cut-off, 34k, and we've got about 50 minutes to get there, so I reckon we should be all right. Although Cliffy is a little way behind us, but I'm sure that he'll make it in the cut-off time as well. But so far, this has been a very lumpy mistress, but this has been the most fun I've had on a bike in a very long time. Hard going, but my God, this is fun. And just as I say that, we get to another categorised climb. Slow and steady wins the race. Right, my battery on my GoPro just died while I was recording, coming up to the course split, but we have now reached the 34-kilometre course split, and I've got Jimmy and Mark with me. But yeah, a very much needed rest, because as I've already said, it has been very lumpy. I haven't seen Mark all day. He's just been pulling away at the front. How are you doing it?
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling that I've got to dig deep.
Mark comes from a mountain bike background, so he has got legs for days. As I think I mentioned earlier, I'm going a little bit delirious, so I don't know what I've said on camera and what I haven't so far. But yeah, he's got calves like, I don't know, Zeus. I don't know, let's say Zeus. Like I can't really talk properly at the moment. Like shot puts, calves like shot puts. So he is absolutely powering up the hills. I think it's time to crack open the emergency giant straubs. Anyone fancy a giant straub?
I'm sure Kendall Minton Gate doesn't. Okay, I'm going to have some flapjacks.
Giant straubs, they'll do the business. So we've got 18 kilometres to go now to the first feed stop. So hopefully we can do that in about an hour and a half. Fingers crossed. Sorry, I just stopped recording and then Jimmy said something very interesting. Sorry, Jimbo, say that again?
No. All I was saying is that I might have been a little bit hasty when I said we could do the 200. Just a little bit hasty, that's all. Just excitement. Just you know, just a little bit of enthusiasm.
Yeah, I'm enthusiastic about this ride. At no point have I thought, yeah, the 200 would be a good idea.
It won't.
No, I was questioning the 130 at one point. The 65 was looking very attractive.
The 200 is for big dogs.
Lunatics.
Big dog.
Big dogs, yeah.
Right, I'm going to get some more food and water on board, wait for Cliffy, and then we'll be off again. Here he comes.
Not sure if I've got all that in me.
What are you thinking?
It's a long way.
Yeah,
It looks a lot hillier
Yeah, there's a few big hills.
going further on.
Yeah, that one just before the second feed station doesn't look favourite, does it?
So I think I might be better off dipping that way and just meeting you back at the ranch, because I'm no way going to keep up with you guys.
Sorry, I did give it a bash.
No, mate, all credit to you. It was,
As soon as we stopped here, we're saying,
Yeah.
it's a...
Yeah.
Helps the pool. They go as slow as you like because there's no other time cut-offs at the pool now. So it's like
There's no
once
more
you're through
time
this
for me.
one, you're
there's
good.
no more time cut off, so you can just cruise it, but
Yeah, cruising is 4 miles an hour.
what's the worst out there?
There, come on, Cliffy.
We're all going to go steady now, yeah?
It's just a bike ride, Cliffy. Right, well, we're back on the move, and there was a worry back there at the split that Cliffy was going to peel off and do the 65k because he wasn't really feeling up to it, but he has since had a change of heart, which is very good because it's nice to keep the group all together. So all 4 of us will be finishing the 130k, but for now we've got about 18 kilometers to the first food stop, and we've only got 1 categorized climb until then. I'm sure there's going to be a few more ups and downs than that, but only 1 big one apparently. And then I've just seen on my Garmin Climb Pro, we've got another 8 after that before the end. But to have half the climbs done in the first quarter of the ride, yeah, no wonder it's been hard going. But with 35k done, I've just realised that means we've only got 95k left, which in more local terms for us is just a ride to Cambridge and back. And we've done that tons of times. Easy. Yeah, I might revise that in about 30 kilometres time. But now we've got through that course split, we are on the 130 200k course at the moment, with the 65s disappearing off back down there, and there are no other time cut off, so we can just take it easy now. And I think that might be the best plan because we pretty much killed ourselves doing that first 34k, or I did anyway. Mark and Jimmy are absolutely fine. What? Nearly. Too busy filming, nearly missed the turn. we've just come to a stop because there were a couple of bottles on the trail and we all thought they were each other's that had fallen out, but now we have come to a stop. Just listen. Apart from the sound of Jimmy haphazardly trying to clip into his pedals, Jimmy loves a bit of nature.
Just chat again. Lovely, isn't it?
Gotta love a bit of nature. You gotta stop, look around, listen, and just take it in every now and then. And no sooner do I say you need to stop in the middle of the forest and take in nature, we end up on a road. The Dirty Reiver is 95% gravel, so you are going to expect that 5% to be on tarmac. Oh, but the road has suddenly given way to gravel again, so we're all good. Right, well that is the final climb done, before the feed stop that is. Unfortunately, not the actual final climb, but we've now got about 1.5k to go to the feed stop, and I'm very much looking forward to this. And we found ourselves back on the road again. So it is a little bit of respite where I can take my hands off the bar, stretch the back out a little bit, and yeah, get a little bit of comfort. But I'm not complaining because, as I said earlier, this has been absolutely incredible. Love this ride so far. Right, 52k done, first feed station. Let's get some grub. Right, first food stop done, and we're back underway. We've now got 51k, so about 30 miles to the next feed stop, but there is quite a bit of climbing to do. Thank you! Lovely. Look at Mark, he's off. Powering up the hill, there's just no stopping him. Absolute monster on the climbs. He's even getting up there quicker than Jimmy, and that is saying something. Jimmy is the mountain goat. So Jimbo, now I've caught up to you a little bit and we're on a little bit of a flat. How's the new bike doing?
Oh, honestly, she is moving so beautifully. I have always wanted a gravel bike, and this is why. We've been here going for 34 miles. She's brand new, mint out of the box, shifting beautifully. I've never been on this kind of gravel before. Done a bit of mud, done a little bit of trail, but this is proper gravel. A proper gravel bike on proper gravel, and she's moving beautifully. Really chuffed with her. The colour, he knows what I think of the colour. She looks gorgeous, but being on her is magic. And I've never had disc brakes before as well, believe it or not, and she's stopping so sharp. Feel great on her. Lovely. Beautiful. The man's a genius.
I wouldn't quite say a genius. I know a little bit about a lot, but not a lot about anything. Even if I do say so myself though, it is a beautiful looking bike. That Bianchi Celeste colour, oh, mwah, chef's kiss. Right, another sit rep. We are now just over 70k in, so apologies for not having filmed much of the last 20k, but it's been much of the same, to be honest. Don't get me wrong, it's been absolutely beautiful scenery. It is just complete and utter wilderness up here, but it does all just end up looking the same eventually. Oh boy, this is probably the toughest of the 16 climbs. Currently on an 8% incline, which isn't a lot. But after 65k of climbs, sorry, 75k of climbs, yeah, I'm feeling it. And I can feel the cramp starting to build in my left hamstring and right quad. So that's fun. Right, only 220 meters left of this climb to go. Let's get to the top. Oh, and then comes the descent, thankfully. That had a cheeky little kick up to 11% right at the top. Just what you want. What I wanted to talk to you about is the reason that I love events like this, and it's the camaraderie you get from complete strangers who you just happen to be riding next to. There was a guy called Adam a few miles back that I got riding with, and I initially started talking to him because he'd ended up bending his rear derailleur hanger, and that was just after the first food stop. So he doubled back to go to the food stop to try and find a mechanic, but unfortunately there wasn't one there. So he did have a spare derailleur hanger, but he thought, well, rather than mess around with that, by the time he sorted all that out, it's going to take a while. So he bent the derailleur hanger out slightly. Didn't want to do it too much, obviously, in case he snapped it completely, and he managed to get all but one of his gears, and thankfully it was the fastest gear, which I don't think many of us are going to get to use today. But having spoken about that, he then started telling me that a couple of years ago on a TT bike he ended up having a nasty crash when a van pulled out in front of him, and the impact was that severe that his shoulder ended up going into his lung. That resulted in him losing half of one of his lungs and having a couple of titanium ribs fitted. And prior to that, he told me that him and his brother used to take part in Ironmans and triathlons. But after his shoulder and ribs had been reconstructed, the doctors told him he'd never be running or riding like that again. Well, he didn't like the sound of that. And long story short, over the last couple of years, he's fought his way back to pretty much full health. Now, he did say that with only half a lung on one side, when his heart rate gets to about 150 BPM, he does start to struggle a little bit. But up until that point, he's golden. And the interesting thing about that is, as he was telling me this, we were going up a hill, and I started to get gapped by him. I had to drop back. I could not keep up with the fella. Absolute superhuman. But it's getting to chat to people like Adam and hearing stories like his, which is why I absolutely love events like this. Very much similar to the North London Dirt Ride I took part in last year, and I ended up meeting my now good buddy Dale. It's absolutely fantastic. The camaraderie and the community feeling from these rides. Absolutely love it. I mean, I say community, but I am currently in the middle of nowhere. I can't see anyone ahead of me, and there's no one behind me either. I am completely on my own in the wilderness here. I'm sure there'll be someone along shortly though. Right, we've just come to a quick stop, or I've come to a quick stop because I found Jimmy and Mark, and I'm very glad we did, because we've now developed a 20km/h headwind, which is not fun. So I'm very much hoping that I might be able to tuck in behind Jimmy and Mark now and save a few watts. Right, well, a little way further on, and this 20km/h headwind has not disappeared. So I'm going to get my head down, get this next 20k done to the feed station, and I'll see you there, I guess. Alright, I know I said I wouldn't speak to you until the next feed station, but I've just turned on to climb number 11, and I glanced down. It's only a 3% average gradient over the whole thing, but this climb is 3.5 kilometers long. Oh man, at least we've now turned, and the headwind has turned into a bit of a tailwind. That's always helpful. But 3.5k, oh boy. Right, let's get it done. Every meter at a time, right? Keep the legs spinning, 1 meter closer every time to the feed station, and more importantly, to the end. Right, well finally we've got the 3.5 kilometer climb done, and now we should have a fairly decent descent for the next 2.5 kilometers. Well deserved, I'd say. But sadly, as is often the case in cycling, what goes down must often go back up again, and no sooner am I down from that descent, another one starts. This one's only 700 meters though, thankfully. Oh boy. Right, 100 kilometers in. I'm 3 kilometers from the second feed station, and we finally found the dirt. The dirty Reiver so far has been the dusty Reiver, but we finally found ourselves on a wet, muddy dirt path. But the Gravel King panel racers are doing me a solid, keeping me upright, rubber side down, which is always beneficial. Right, get me to this feed station. I've eaten both of the Cliff Bars that I got from the last feed station, as well as the half pack of giant straws I had left. I will, if I remember, try and give you an update later on everything I've eaten today, because I have previously had some comments on these bigger rides with people asking exactly how I deal with nutrition. I'll be honest, I'm not very good at it, and I end up getting to a feed station and just inhaling a whole load of stuff, which isn't necessarily the best strategy, but I will take you through what I eat in its entirety. But for now, let's get to this feed station. 1.5 kilometers to go. We finally found the dirt. Yeah. Right, feed station 2 done. We are back underway. We are fed, we are watered, feeling full of energy, although my legs are feeling a little bit stiff. Maybe I stopped for a little bit too long back there. And immediately we find ourselves on another climb. But we've got just 27 kilometers to go now, so what's that, about 18 miles, thereabouts? Very much looking forward to getting back, having a non-alcoholic beer and getting in the jacuzzi that we discovered our cabin comes with this morning. Right, so 110 kilometers in, 20 kilometers or 12 miles left to go, and I've got nothing to say other than the fact the sun has poked its head out from behind the clouds, and I am absolutely loving life at the moment. I don't know if you can see me, I look a bit dark on the screen because the sun is right behind me, but this is absolutely fantastic. Despite the hardship, despite the climbs, despite the cramp that I've had nearly a couple of times now, this is definitely the hardest day I've ever had on a bike, but also conversely at the same time somehow the most amazing day I've ever had on a bike. This is tougher than anything I've done before. Tougher than London to Paris, tougher than the Dunwich Dynamo, tougher than the North London dirt ride I did last year. That comes a very close second, but this is something else. But as I say, 12 miles left to go. The sun's out and there's a descent ahead of me. Let's go. Well, that descent was lovely, but as soon as I hit the bottom of it, there's another climb. But it is 16 of 16 climbs. The last one, so although I'm sure there'll still be some lumpy bits after this, there will be no more categorised climbs. So I reckon it'll be a nice cruise to the finish line after this. Absolutely love it. Right, well that is the final climb done. And as I say, there will be a few more undulations before the end, I'm sure, but no more biggies, thankfully. But one thing I didn't mention earlier, before I reached the feed station, and to be honest, I didn't mention it because, as I say, the wind was pretty bad. I was struggling, and I just wanted to get to some food. But making it even worse was the fact that my rear derailleur kept skipping, and it didn't matter which gear I was in. Every 3 or 4 revolutions of the crank caused the chain to slip at the back, and I had a little play around with the barrel adjuster hoping that would fix it, but it didn't, unfortunately. And it is amazing just how much something minor like that can get into your head, because it went on for about 10 or 15k and it really started to bother me. Every time I was trying to put the power down going up a hill or try and make the most of the descents and really kick on, all I was getting every 3 revolutions, chunk, chunk, chunk. That will grind you down after a while. But when I got to the feed station, I was able to have a little play around with the high-low limit screws on the rear derailleur, and for now at least it seems to be working okay. It isn't really surprising that it de-indexed itself, because at times I felt like my eyes are going to jiggle out of my head. Parts of this have been absolutely punishing on the backside, your back, but especially the wrists. And one tip I would give is, if you're going to do this yourself, definitely get a suspension stem and a suspension seat post. They won't cure every lump and bump, but they do take the sting out of most of them, because the last thing you need on a ride like this is anything getting into your head and stopping you from pushing on. What an absolutely incredible view of Kielder Water. This place is stunning. Okay, 5 miles to go. Could this get any sweeter? I've met back up with Jimmy and Mark. Unfortunately, Cliffy has been left behind a little bit, bless him. He has struggled somewhat today, so we have unfortunately left him behind, but 3 of us will cross the line together and we are going to give one almighty cheer to Cliffy. We'll wait around for him at the end and we will give him a big cheer as he comes through. But 5 miles to go. I'll be honest with you, I have never felt as good as I do right now. I was coming through that forest back up there, I got the music blaring in my ears. I was living my best life, singing along to myself. I didn't record any of that, you'll be thankful to hear. Just an absolutely incredible day. So well organised. The route is just incredible. And this last 10k is pretty much flat. There's a few little undulations through the forest, but nothing like what we've come through. And it is exactly what you need at the end of a ride like this. We are definitely coming back next year. Allez, allez! Cheers, buddy! Oh, that was awesome. That was absolutely epic.
How's it just finished like that? Not just that bit, if the whole thing is
Funny enough, just gone, yeah. Right, well, we've had a lovely beef chilli. Washed the beef chilli down with a can of Sprite. And now we're just sitting, contemplating and chatting, chewing the fat, talking about the ride. And one thing that has just come up, which I thought of earlier, and I've just been having a chat with Jimmy about, is two of the bikes today, mine and his, have been built from exclusively from cheap Chinese carbon fibre and aluminium parts, cheap Chinese group sets. And you had a bit to say about it.
I can believe, but it's just magic how my bike performed today. I just felt so good on it. I was lying. The shifting was smooth as anything, and that's a single problem. It had been put together. When did you hand it over, Pete? Was it a week ago, wasn't it? You finished it?
Yeah.
I hadn't been out there. I'd had a chance. It's not been test ridden at all, so there was no chance to iron out any wrinkles, and there weren't any wrinkles. Shifted beautifully, stopped on an ice, but you need the brakes to be bang on this course because there's sharp turns and there's little obstacles and bits and pieces everywhere. And every time I called on her to do something, she did it spot on. And we're just looking around. There's thousands of pounds worth of bikes here, and ours, right, just put together. Pete's gathered bits from China and different sources from there, cheap bits, and both of them were absolutely spot on. Unreal. We've been really, really chatting about it and getting deep about it. It's a little bit, I honestly do feel a little bit emotional about how mine is a bespoke handmade bike made by my great pal, and she was just, brilliant.
Yeah, I must say, I had a few thoughts on the way down. If this route is not, or if this event is not the ultimate test for a cheap Chinese carbon fibre bike, I don't know what is, because we were rattled nearly black and blue on point to this. And if that bike can deal with this, then it can deal with absolutely anything. And I won't take any criticism whatsoever about cheap Chinese carbon fibre.
Here's the test. I wanted to do 20k more. Right? If it had been uncomfortable, I'd wanted to stop.
Maybe next year. Maybe next year we'll do the 200. But maybe next year. One thing I was going to say is the bike is absolutely filthy at the moment, as you might imagine. They could have renamed the ride the Dusty Reiver this morning because it was very, very, very dusty, very cloudy. Just the dust just flying across the trails. And understandably, the bike is very dirty at the moment. So I was thinking of doing a full teardown of the bike and cleaning it bit by bit, dropping the forks out, dropping the wheels out, taking all the components off and giving it a proper deep clean. If that's something that you guys would be interested in, let me know and I will get a video done of it and put it up very shortly. But yeah, we're going to wait for Cliffy, get it back up to the cabin, and then eventually I'm going to talk you through exactly what I've eaten today in terms of nutrition. Come on, Cliff. You got another 20k to do. Yeah.
Good work. That was really good.
What an effort. That was awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for waiting, yeah.
Hey, it was your brother. It was your brother said, no, he won't mind us going on. Right, we are back at the lodge. Very soon we'll be getting in that jacuzzi down there. But let's take you through everything I've eaten today. Now, as I said earlier, I am not a master, or not even an amateur when it comes to nutrition, so I always seem to get it wrong. However, there is definitely a way that you can undernourish yourself on a ride like this. But overnourishing tends to be fairly difficult. The great thing about cycling is that it's very difficult to eat too much and get bloated and not be able to ride. If you're running and stuff like that, it can be very difficult. If you eat too much, you can stuff yourself, you can become bloated and it gets difficult to run any further. But with cycling, that doesn't seem to happen, or at least in my experience and with these fellas, you can't seem to eat too much. So with that in mind, here is everything I've eaten today. So when I got up this morning, I had one of those Quaker instant porridge pots with a strawberry flavoured protein breakfast drink by Fuel, I think that was. Then we headed down to the event village and I got myself a hot chocolate just to warm up a little bit because it was still a little bit chilly this morning. And then when we got out on the road, before I got to the first food stop, I had a Mars bar and half a packet of Haribo giant straws, which are absolutely fantastic for a quick sugar boost. And then when I got to the first food stop, I have to admit, I had, I think, probably about 12 Kit Kat fingers. I was a little bit hungry when I got there, and yeah, I probably overdid it a little bit. But I also picked up a couple of chocolate chip Cliff Bars from that. I didn't eat them there, but I kept hold of them for later because my drop bag with the rest of my food, with all of the Mars bars and the other packet of Haribos, I wasn't going to pick up until I got to feed stop 2. So on the way to feed stop 2, yeah, I had the 2 Cliff Bars and the other half a pack of Haribo giant straws. Then I got to feed stop 2. I didn't actually eat anything from the feed stop there, but I had a cheese and pickle sandwich which I'd made myself here earlier in the morning and got transported over to the feed stop. And then I had another Mars bar while I was there, and I took another 2 Mars bars with me, but I never ate those. But I did take the other packet of straws, which I ate half of, and they will be finished by the rest of the evening, but I'm not going to count that as nutrition because the ride's over now. Oh, and as Mark has just reminded me, actually, yes, at the first feed stop I also had a packet of salt and vinegar crisps, and that really helped because I was just starting to get cramps when just before I got to the feed stop, and the salt from that definitely helped out with the cramps. But after the feed stop 2, I really only ate the half a pack of straws. So all in all, I wouldn't like to count up exactly how many calories I have eaten today, but I reckon I've burned well over what I've eaten. So I take that as a good day. And just as I stand up,
Well done, guys. What a ride.
Cliffy's already in the jacuzzi. So on that note, I'm going to go and jump in the shower, clean myself off before I get in the jacuzzi. And I will say thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this one interesting and enjoyable. And I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. I'll see you in the next one. When that happened. Do you want this on video? See you later.
Get me a beer.